Good morning. I'm Sylvia Shutes. I am Creative Operations Manager here at Side Realty, and I am joined again this morning by my boss and co-owner of Side by Side, Scott. Hey, Scott.
Hey guys, welcome investors and followers, and hopefully we have followers by now. That'd be cool to say.
Yeah, we definitely, it's a cult following.
Yeah, my mom and your mom.
Yeah, it's cool. Hey, Mom.
What's up?
So this week we're talking about something that has been on my mind a lot as somebody who is just starting to get into this field, and we know many of you guys out there might be in a similar boat. And we're going to talk about getting started. Um, we love sending out a lot of educational resources for you guys about what it means to get started in real estate or investing, but sometimes it can feel really daunting, and that the dream might be there, but the actual starting steps might feel a little bit lost in the dark. Um, so this week we're going to break down questions about how to get the ball rolling. Scott, how did you first get started in real estate?
So the first time we thought about real estate was in 2013. Drew, my twin brother and business partner, had moved to the Twin Cities, and we wanted to buy a single family home, uh, live in a couple bedrooms. We weren't going to share a bedroom. We were done by then sharing bedrooms, but live in a couple bedrooms and rent out the others to friends and cover most of our mortgage. And that's what our dad brought up, the idea of buying a duplex. And so we ended up buying a duplex in Northeast Minneapolis. And the real thing is we just kind of fell into it. We didn't want to pay rent anymore. And we didn't like the idea of paying rent. And we liked the idea of other people covering most of our mortgage. So paying down the principal and living for free sounded really sweet. So when so, some people roll into real estate with this dream, this grandiose plan, and I think that's because there's a lot. It's investing in real estate is becoming more mainstream. When we were doing it, we were coming off the crash. Properties were discounted. Buying real estate was kind of taboo at the time because it was so many people had such a bad experience with it in the 5 years prior, that when we were doing it, it wasn't really mainstream. There wasn't all of these resources, podcasts, books that say, hey, you have to invest in real estate. That's the only way to go if you want to create some passive income. So yeah, we just when we got started, we just fell into it as kind of an accident.
Hmm. Did it ever feel like, was there ever a moment in the beginning where it felt like it wasn't going to happen, that the dream was going to get stuck in that beginning phase?
Yeah, there's we, we didn't have the long-term plan of investing in real estate and growing a real estate portfolio like we do today, because this plan and this dream of real estate happened through some of our beginner success. And you talk about beginnings, and I think Liz Bohannon writes a great book called Beginner's Pluck, is approaching things from a beginner's mindset, is you're willing to do things because you just don't know any better. And oftentimes your aptitude or appetite for failure is greater because you haven't done it before and you don't know what success truly looks like.
Mm.
So sometimes it is better to be ignorant. So when we were first getting started, and we were young, we didn't have any money, and the stuff that we were willing to do was a result of having more time and less money.
Mm.
And so when we first bought our duplexes, Drew and I renovated one of the units all on our own. um, and most of the purchase and the renovation costs came from a loan from our grandma for $5,000 a piece. So we were broke with $5,000 in the bank account, and we decided to start our real estate investing. Like, that conceptually doesn't make any sense. Um, but I think that was our benefit at the time, is we didn't know what made sense or not.
Hmm.
So we were gonna try it. We if even if we fell, we didn't have a lot to lose.
Yeah.
We're already broke. We can go broker.
No. I have that book in my bookshelf here in my dorm room.
How do you?
I do. It was one of the only books I brought with me to school, because I think it's such a powerful message. And as somebody who's in college and getting started in the world too, is kind of like a young adult, I think that that message of trusting
Mm,
your just that intuition you have
Yeah.
about taking risks that seem crazy out there, but you know you'll regret if you don't do it.
Yeah.
Um, it's definitely been a guiding lesson in my life, and I think that it's really applicable to getting started in any field, especially something that can feel really risky, like investing in real estate.
Yeah, completely. And there's a lot of people that might be listening to this, if a lot of people listen to this, that are further along in their careers or in their life, and they have a family that they need to support. They have a career that they've invested a lot of time, money, and energy into, that feel like they don't have the ability to become a beginner again.
Mm.
And then you compare it to a skier who has been skiing their whole life but has always dreamed of trying snowboarding, and they're like, well, I can already get down the mountain skiing and I'm really good at it and I do it just fine. Going back to sitting on my ass and sliding down a blue, it's not exciting, but that's where it's like you if you're at that point in life and you have enough of a drive, I would argue read the book Beginner's Pluck. Start looking at new opportunity from a beginner's eyes, and it might ignite a new fire to go after something a little different if you're not excited about what you're currently doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm,
What was the point when you were first getting started in real estate when there was the lesson that maybe like beginner's pluck, but what was your moment
mm.
that things started to click? All of a sudden, you didn't feel like you were wandering in the dark anymore, but you kind of felt like you had gained a sense of momentum and rhythm. Do you remember what that lesson or moment looked like?
Yeah, there's been a few of them. But as you're talking, it gave me the chills because it was after Drew and I bought our first duplex, and our agreement after that one was so successful, our agreement was that we are going to buy one a year from here on out. And since he bought the first one, I was going to buy the second one. And at that time, Jenny and I had just met, so we were thinking about getting married. I was doing really well in my career, climbing the corporate ladder, and real estate just seemed like it was a distraction. It was at the time it felt more of a hobby than it was any kind of long-term vision or business. And so, luckily at the time, a friend of mine turned me onto Bigger Pockets, and I went for a walk with my dog and popped in an episode. I think it was like show 65. And I remember specifically as Bree from Chicago. And she was miserable in her sales job, making quite a bit of money, but started buying up real estate. And after accumulating a few properties, she quit her day job. And at the time, it blew my mind. And after 45 minutes of listening to the podcast, I get home, um, and I turned to Drew and I was like, I'm all in. Let's keep buying this real estate. Because I told him, I was like, hey, Drew, I can't do this anymore. I got other things that I'd like to pursue, and real estate's just a distraction. So it was after listening to that podcast that it kind of shifted my mindset around the possibilities of investing in real estate and the opportunities that it was going to create for myself and the family that I was excited to start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so great. Almost like a moment of enlightenment.
Yeah.
Brandon Turner
That's a,
enlightenment.
Brandon Turner, man, that man, if I ever meet him, he's going to get the longest, biggest hug. I don't care about COVID right now.
This is just like a fan podcast for Brandon
Yeah.
Turner.
If he, Go- if he Googles his name, we're going to be
Oh,
up there. Is
I
wow,
know our
somebody started a fan
transcripts.
podcast.
We're gonna
But yeah, that
rebrand.
that 45 minutes was life changing. It was is thinking seriously about something that on the surface not a lot of people were doing. Most people were graduating college like I had and pursuing that career in a corporation because it deemed security. It deemed a 401k that you could eventually retire off when you're 63. And I didn't, I never wanted that, but I
Mm.
kept pursuing it. And that's where I just, like it never jived. I never aligned with my goals and dreams and aspirations, rarely aligned with what I was pursuing at the time. Until real estate, it almost like it brought it all together and said, hey, you can have a career in business and pursue your dreams all at the same time. What? I thought you had to give up one for the other.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that a lot of people, there's this idea of success being tied with sacrifice.
Mm,
And there's definitely, I think, I mean, I'm sure you can testify to this as somebody who is successful in multiple different businesses now and opening more ventures. There definitely is an element of sacrifice of time, and it takes a lot of energy. However, I think that, at least in my experience as a young person, the narrative of having to sacrifice your dreams to also be successful is
mm.
outdated. There's so, just because of the sheer cache of information that's available to people. Right before this, Scott and I were talking about in our weekly meeting that there's so many opportunities for education outside of college as well, that you don't have to stop with your 4-year degree. You can take classes at the community center to pursue the things you're passionate about. Maybe you're in sales but you love woodworking. um, you don't have to just choose one or the other. I think that real estate gives that opportunity because now all of a sudden, with income coming in a way that can feel passive, you can now also choose to explore other ventures on top of that.
For sure,
um
for
was
sure.
there a moment where you felt like there was a lesson you wished you had learned earlier that would have given you more clarity, maybe had, like, would have expedited the Brandon Turner enlightenment moment by a couple years, or something that you learned later down the line that you wish you knew as a beginner?
Uh, and I go back to being thankful that I was a beginner, because there's things that I did to get started that I'm not prepared to do now, that has allowed me to be where I'm at today. And so like just embracing that you're a beginner is, maybe that's the thing that I wish I gave myself permission to back then, is embracing the fact that I didn't know any better. Embracing, so when you walk into a big networking event, walking in knowing that, hey, I'm probably the new guy here, but all I'm looking to do is link up with people who have the same morals and ethics and hustle that I do, so that we can help each other be successful. So I think I would have been further along faster if I would have go in with more of an open mindset, that I was actually a beginner. So if you're just getting started, make it known. Yes, yes, make it known that you're a real estate investor, but also make it known that you're just getting started, because people are going to see your character and want to work with you, especially people who are probably more successful in real estate than you are, that can help you get there quicker. So yeah, going back, and then what you were just talking about, Sylvia, is like the amount of resources that are out there to learn about real estate is actually kind of overwhelming, to a point that some of us are getting paralyzed by the amount of information. Um, and so when you're getting started, I would say, yes, take time to absorb, read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad, read Brandon Turner's Little No Money Down, find Bigger Pockets, find Side by Side Realty, look at our articles, talk with our agents, discover and learn as much as you possibly can. But it gets to a point where you can overwhelm yourself to paralyzation and not do anything. So I would say, once you get to a point where you've talked to enough people, you got to make some moves. So pick a line and go at it hard, because there are a ton of options. And you could go into flipping, you could go and be a wholesaler, you can go and be a buy and hold investor, you can go and do syndications, you can go and become a realtor, you can go and become a loan officer. There's so many things you can do. I would argue, okay, try to find one and pick that and just dive as deep as you can into it, because by you doing that, it'll open doors to other stuff too. But so many of us get overwhelmed by the amount of options that are out there.
Yeah, I completely agree. Even as a, like, consuming real estate content for the first time this year, I felt overwhelmed at first. It was definitely like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that there was this whole can of worms all having to do with duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes, which
Mm-hmm.
feels so niche in the scheme of real estate. But then, even in that, there's so much to unpack.
Yeah, definitely. And you're right. It's small multifamily is a niche. About 1,000 sell every single year compared to 60,000 single family homes across the Twin Cities. So like the the idea of a small multifamily is so small in the grand scheme of real estate, but within that small grand scheme of real estate, there's so much you can unpack to investing in duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes. So that was something that we discovered early on, is that's what we knew. we were good at it, and we just kept doing it. And then we kept doing it and doing it some more, so that now we can teach other people to do it and do it some more. And now we can create a business around the fact that we know this niche so well within the Twin Cities. And I would argue that Drew Hoefler and Garrett Gordon and Alyssa Strom, they've been through every single duplex that have ever listed on the Twin Cities in the last 2 years. So we know this